What is up, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video on Lex Alexis. Today it is our championship score predictions for match day 45. After this game week, we will only have 13 matches left to predict in the championship season. This season has flown by so quickly, it's unbelievable. If you want to see the updated standings of the Lex Alexis prediction league, they look like this. Thankfully, there's not been much change due to the 4 midweek games we've had to predict, but there's a couple of change and switched positions on the positions due to how everyone performed in those 4 midweek games. So that was the championship. This is what the League One league is looking like. I'm so grateful for all of you entering that league as well. And for fun is what the League 2 looks like as well. We've actually nearly filled that whole league entirely, which is exciting. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. This tremendously help the channel. Let's aim for 20 likes. I'll be appreciated. Please subscribe to the channel. It does really help the growth of this channel. And more importantly, please share this channel to as many people as you can. All of that really helps. And let me know how excited you are of these championship games in the comments down below. But without any further ado, let's start predicting what I think will happen in this championship weekend's games. We start off predicting tonight's game between QPR and Sheffield United. Now, this game a couple of weeks ago would have been seen as a top 6 pointer, potentially a defining game, in the top 6. And it could still be a defining game, but sadly, it doesn't involve both clubs anymore. But it does still involve Sheffield United. Now, I did talk about in one of my videos when they won their last game against Cardiff that it put them in a great position. But one team that could definitely put some pressure on them is Middlesbrough. So they're now 2 points behind Sheffield United. Middlesbrough have got a game against Stoke this weekend at home as well. Sheffield United have got 2 reasonably tough games to end the season, with this one being against QPR, which, yes, their form has not been great, only 3 wins in their last 16 matches. But following the news that Mark Warburton will be leaving at the end of the season, we can very easily see a team actually perform out of their skin and actually play with a bit of pride and a bit of a bounce, knowing that they're going to have a change of manager. Now, with Sheffield United, I've not been impressed with their away record, not being able to win in their last 6 away games. So I'm a bit nervy for Sheffield United going into this game. As a prediction, with all things considered, I could very much well see QPR winning this game, but I'm going to cancel each other out and say a 1-1 draw for this game, and FIFA has gone for a 1-0 away win to the Blades. Next game is Barsley versus Preston North End. Now, this game doesn't really have much impact anymore. There's not really much purpose. Barnsley are already down, and mathematically they will actually be in the top 5 worst championship teams of all time in based on points already. For the fact that the maximum they can get is 36. If they don't win this game, then the maximum points that they can get is 33, which is quite dreadful, I gotta say. And definitely already they could maybe play with a little bit of a good amount of encouragement for the fact that they don't no longer have Asbaghi in charge. But they did play midweek and they did lose out pretty convincingly against Blackpool by 2-0. They barely threatened, I gotta say. Preston had a really poor midweek game as well, losing 4-1 to Blackburn Rovers, their Lancashire rivals. They definitely cannot finish any lower than 16th for where they are right now, but they definitely want to be playing with a little bit of pride and try and finish a little bit higher up the table than that. And at the moment, I'm not too sure if they've really got the confidence and the ability, especially away from home at the moment, where they've not scored in 3 away games in a row. And Barsley have not scored in their last 2 home games. So I shouldn't really be predicting too many goals in this game. So I'm not surprised if it's going to be a 0-0 draw. But I have a feeling Preston are going to want a response. So I'm going to edge the away team by 2-1. But not very confident with that. And FIFA's gone for a 1-0 away victory to Preston. Next game, Blackburn versus Bournemouth. Now, this is one of the really big games happening this weekend. It's happening at 3 o'clock. Blackburn chasing the top 6. Bournemouth trying to secure promotion. Now, Bournemouth, for me, really need to start winning these games again. Because Bournemouth have only won 1 game in their last 6. And that form is just not good enough, unfortunately. To be fair to them, they've stopped the defeats going through their form at the moment, as they've not lost, in their last 5 games. Not since they lost against West Brom a couple of months ago. Now, in terms of Blackburn, their form was literally matching QPR's poor form. 3 wins in 16. But they got that 3rd win with a really emphatic way, beating Preston by 4-1. And watching the game, whilst they didn't really look like a team that produced great quality on the ball, going forward, they really took their chances, and it was reminding me of what the old Blackburn was all about. Now, at home, I do expect Blackburn to be a bit better. Traditionally, they do create a lot more at home. Bournemouth, though, have really shown a little bit of fight, especially going back from 3 goals down against Swansea. I think it shows that they still have a very strong mentality within that squad. But as a prediction, it's going to go either one or two ways. It's either going to be a very cagey, low-scoring game, or it's going to be many, many goals from both teams. And I'm hoping, because Bournemouth need to win this game, I'm hoping we're going to see the latter. And if that's the case, I might edge Bournemouth based on their squad depth at the moment. So I'm going to edge Bournemouth for a 3-2 away victory, but I'm not too sure on this. And FIFA has gone for a 3-1 away victory to Bournemouth. Next game is Blackpool versus Darby. I don't really think too much of this game either. Blackpool got a very comfortable win against Barnsley, a team also in the bottom 3. Darby will very, very likely rotate, and I think we'll introduce some youngsters again. Richards, one of their 16-year-olds, I think can definitely get a debut if Wayne Rooney decides to rotate. But if that does happen, with the fact that Josh Bowler will be returning to the squad most likely, CJ Hamilton will also be in the squad where he's really performed very, very recently, I think Blackpool may have a good game here. Despite Darby having a great record against Blackpool, actually managing not to lose against them in the last 8 games, I think Blackpool have just got the higher ground right now. And I think with the squad, I think they will edge Darby. I'm going to say a typical end of the season 4-1, I think. We sometimes get these crazy results at the end of the season, so I'm going to go for 4-1 to Blackpool, and FIFA has gone for a 3-0 victory to Blackpool. Next game is Bristol City versus Hull City. Both teams, in the lower part of the table. They are 18th and 17th place respectively. This can definitely be a very end of the season game as well. Once again, both these teams don't have much to play for. Bristol City, however, doing really well with their form, unbeaten in their last 4. Hull have managed to sustain 3 wins out of their last 4 games. So actually both teams' form has actually been pretty good in the lead up for this match. But what I would expect, both defences I'm not too convinced with. Both going forward have dramatically improved. I might edge Bristol City, but I'm actually going to go for a little bit of a crazier game. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw between these two teams for the fact they've sustained a good unbeaten period at this point of the season. So I'm going to go for a mad 2-2 draw. It wouldn't surprise me because we tend to see those end of the season results these days. And FIFA's gone for a 1-0 away victory to Hull. Next game is Cardiff versus Birmingham. Now, it is 2 teams that I don't have much faith in this game, I gotta say. We have 17th versus 18th. Now we've got 19th versus 20th. So it's going to be very close, very tight games, I think, but in those 2 matches especially. Now, Cardiff did lose recently against Middlesbrough by 2-0. They definitely should have scored, I felt, at least 1 goal. But they were really, really, not clinical at all going forward. And I actually criticised this with Middlesbrough as well. Both teams going forward lacked a lot of confidence. How can you get more confident by playing against a Birmingham side right now when they've got one of the worst forms in the league? They did have 3 defeats in a row, but they did manage to get a 2-2 draw against Millwall, which was a great result for them, but disappointingly conceding an equaliser in the 98th minute. It wouldn't surprise me to see one team edge this, or it ends as a goalless draw. Something I was very tempted to say a goalless draw, but for some strange reason, I think this is going to be one of those peculiar results. And for the fact that Cardiff are sustaining a really poor period of form right now, 5 defeats in 6, I think it's going to be another defeat for Cardiff. So, bizarrely, it means I'm backing Birmingham with a win. They were improved against Millwall, so I'm going to say they're going to right the wrong this time, and they'll get a win. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Birmingham, and FIFA has gone for a 0-0 draw. Next game is Coventry versus Huddersfield. Now, one of the really important games I said was between Blackburn and Bournemouth for promotion and top 2. Obviously, Bournemouth and Forest are 2nd and 3rd, but Huddersfield mathematically can still get 2nd. You would have seen my video talking about the top 2, Huddersfield. I've even thrown them in there. If they win both of their games, Huddersfield have got a very strong chance, especially with the fact that the top 2, or top 3 I should say, are playing against each other, and both could drop points with that result, which really opens the door for Huddersfield. But they face a Coventry side which have definitely been a team, peculiar to predict. I think that's the best way I can put it. Their home form was actually really good at the start, but they've actually gone through a period of not being able to win in their last 3 home games. Huddersfield have gone for a really good period of form, 4 wins in their last 5 matches, and it could definitely go into Huddersfield's way, but Coventry is going to be a very tricky customer. So as a prediction, I'm actually going to go for a draw in this game. I actually think they could cancel each other out. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which was the previous result in the reverse fixture. So I'm going to say it's going to be a 1-1 draw again. Fifa's gone for a 1-0 Coventry win. Next game is Middlesbrough versus Stoke. A very crucial game for top 6. So Middlesbrough have definitely got it all to do to try and catch Sheffield United. Their goal difference is not as much as Sheffield United, but let's say Sheffield United draw against QPR. They would theoretically need to win by at least 2 goals, Middlesbrough against Stoke, if they want to overtake Sheffield United, you know, leading up to the final game of the season. And psychologically, that could really play a huge part for both teams. The fact that Sheffield United have to play first, if Sheffield United win, it puts huge pressure on Middlesbrough and all the teams out there. But if Sheffield United drop points, the opportunity that Middlesbrough, Blackburn, Millwall, all these teams have leading up to playing the day after Sheffield United have played their 45th game, it could really make things very nervy for Sheffield United especially. But for Middlesbrough, they won, you know, finally for the first time in 6 games, and actually have managed to win at home as well, beating Cardiff by 2-0. I do think they did deserve it. They actually, I think their energy levels really got an increase in that game. They really went for it. Now, against the Stoke side, which they actually have been doing pretty well there for near the end of the season. I think it's been one of those teams where they've actually peaked a bit too late within the season. But as a prediction, it's difficult because Stoke can definitely have a defeat in them there and then. And especially with the injury problems, I definitely think Stoke have got more players out than what Middlesbrough have got. But, oh, this is so tricky. I was thinking a draw, but I'm actually going to make things very exciting for the top 6. And I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Middlesbrough in this game. And if that does happen, they will actually join on points for Sheffield United going to the final game of the season, where Sheffield United have got Fulham. So that's going to make things very exciting. And Fifa's gone for a 2-1 away victory to Stoke. So FIFA will say Stoke, I'll say Middlesbrough, and we'll see who's right. Next game to predict is Millwall versus Peterborough. We were just talking about Millwall. They've got a really good opportunity as well, especially if Sheffield United do not manage to win their game. So theoretically, you know, Millwall will have to win their game to get on 69 points. And Sheffield United, you know, they will still be 1 point ahead of them if they do not lose against QPR. But if they do lose against QPR and Millwall win, they've got a really good chance to try and overtake. Now, their goal difference compared to Sheffield United is definitely a lot worse off. But against this Peterborough side, who have conceded 84 goals in the league, the 2nd worst defensive record in the league, they could look at this team thinking, okay, if they're going to be dejected and they're going to be leaking a lot of goals, Millwall will have to try and, you know, score as many goals as they can. And they did so very recently against their other relegation rival in Barsley, putting 4 goals past them. They have got the capability to do that. Peterborough, I don't know how they're going to perform. This is going to be their first game since confirming relegation back to League One, so it's difficult to say what will happen with them. By, you know, the amount of performances made by Barnsley and Darby since they were down, they've not really shown anything, and I'm almost thinking Peterborough could be the same thing here. I'm going to go for a 3-0 victory to Millwall with their eyes set of top 6, and Fifa's gone for 4-1 away victory to Peterborough, which is massive. Next game to predict is Nottingham Forest versus Swansea. Now, Swansea were involved in a really dramatic game in midweek, a 3-3 draw with Bournemouth. Now, Nottingham Forest would have been singing Swansea's name till day come, but them conceding 3 second-half goals has definitely made things a bit interesting now. But Forest beating Fulham in midweek, which was an outstanding win for them, they've now made things very interesting. It's a 3-point gap between them and Bournemouth, who, of course, they've got to play against each other on midweek. I mean, that game is going to be unbelievable. But things could really heat up intensely because theoretically Forest can overtake Bournemouth if they get a good win against Swansea here, and if Bournemouth do not beat Blackburn. Well, they have to lose against Blackburn because the gap is 3 points. But it makes things very exciting to lead up for this game. Swansea are no pushovers. Piro's really come to his own this season, especially as well Michael Obafemi. Those 2 strikers have been one of the 2 most informed players in the league so far. And Swansea have got the current longest unbeaten run out of all the teams in the Championship. So they're definitely going to be no pushovers going to this game. But for some reason, I think Steve Cooper will mastermind another win against his former club. He managed to win Swansea 4-1 in the reverse fixture. And I think Steve Cooper will edge it, although I think it'll be closer because I think Swansea have improved. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Forest. Fifa's gone for a 1-0 win to Forest. Next game to predict is Reading versus West Brom. I don't really have much to say with this game, I've got to say. Reading conceding the most goals in the league, but they have survived though, and they could definitely be another team who could rotate. West Brom have just kind of faded away. Obviously, they did have the chance to try and win against Coventry, but Carl Grant missing a last-minute penalty, which was limbed for the away end. But for West Brom, it's just been a very disappointing season, hasn't it? 61 points and 13th place in the table, and they could even finish even a lot lower than that. I mean, they can even finish as low down as 15th if results go against West Brom this weekend, which is unbelievable, to be honest. Since surviving, Reading did manage to lose against Hull City pretty comfortably, 3-0, but at home, Reading have really got some consistency now. So as a prediction, I'm going to actually go for a 0-0 draw. As I said before, when you get end of the season games, you either get a really damp squid or you get a firecracker of a game. And I'm going to go for the damp squid in this one. West Brom being involved, I think, with the most 0-0 draws in the league. So I'm going to go for another 0-0 draw here. And Fifa's gone for a 1-0 victory over Reading, which is unbelievable. And last game to predict, ladies and gentlemen, is Fulham versus Luton. Now, this is a crucial game for Luton. You know, they've not actually mathematically confirmed their top 6 place yet. But their position is so great at the moment and so grand at the moment that it could definitely make things very interesting. Now, if Sheffield United beat QPR, we do need to consider that they will join on points with Luton Town, and if they beat them emphatically, Luton Town could be the team in 6th place at the moment, and then they will be watching the teams below them like Middlesbrough, Blackburn and Millwall potentially overtaking them there. So Luton have got a very important game on their hands. Now, they did get a great result against Fulham last time, getting a draw against them, and Fulham, they're 1 goal away for being the first ever team in the inaugural championship season for getting over 100 goals. They do need to score 10 goals to try and beat the overall Division 2 record set by Manchester City in 2001-2, but for some reason I don't really see that being possible with them having Luton and then Sheffield United as the last 2 games. But they could definitely try and be the first Centurions in terms of goal scorers in the Championship, and that'll be a good thing to motivate them, hopefully. But they're also not mathematically champions yet, but they can be champions after this game if they better Bournemouth's results. As a prediction in this game, I think they're going to finally do it. It's been delaying the inevitable for quite some time, but I think they'll finally get their act together. It's not going to be easy. You know, Luton are always a very defensive team for the most best of times. I'm going to go for 1-0 home victory to Fulham. So I think it'll be very, very tight. And Fifa's gone for a 0-0 draw. Right, guys, that's all my predictions for this weekend's championship games. On the left-hand side of the screen are my Premier League predictions, which will be taking place this weekend as well. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It just tremendously help the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button. It does really, really help the growth of this channel. And please share this channel to as many people as you can. All of that really helps the growth of this channel. But now wrapping up, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.